Hello and welcome to another video on ChatGPT Prompt Engineer for developers. So here on the expanding section, so Andrew and G mentioned here on the expanding that this is a task that takes a very short text input and whether is a set of instruction or a list of topics, and having an LLM that generate longer piece of text such as an email or a message. So when he mentioned about a set of instructions, okay, or a list of topic. Particularly, I already saw example of how can, by providing a set of instructions to generate uh, expand or yeah, to generate longer piece of text, whether it's for an email for customer service, or to write an essay for that. But again, it's very specific task that this model can do. Okay, uh, so when it comes to expanding, again, so this is a task that takes a very short text of input, such as a set of instructions or a list of topics. And this is important to recognize, at least for one particular case, and understand that, and also to articulate that. So this expanding, just to recap, okay? So expanding is a task that an LLM model takes a very short text of input, such as a set of instructions or a list of topics, and generate a longer text. For example, such as email generated for customer service or an essay. Okay, and there's some and there are great use case. Okay, so there are great use case such as brainstorming partner. Okay, when you measure, for example, the temperature for that, which is one of the model inputs parameter. So there's a great use case, or there are great use, there are great uses, there are great use. Okay, so there are great use such as brainstorming partner. However, there are also some problematic use case such as generate large spam email, such as generating large spam email. So that's why he mentioned that use this responsibly. So TLDR, terms and conditions, or disclaimer, use it responsibly. Period. And here I'm going to look at how can I generate a personalized email based on some data. Okay, so this is now ISA full formation here, right? So here I'm going to look at how can I generate a personalized emails based on some data, and the email is kind of self-proclaiming to be an AI bot. Following is the Andrew and G recommendation of being responsible, and also use one of the model inputs parameter called temperature, and it allows you to vary the degree of exploration and variety in the kind of model response. Okay, so it allows you to vary the degree of exploration and variety. The degree of exploration and variety in the kind of model response. So meaning it can get more. So if you want reliable outputs, set a temperature of 0. And if you want more created outputs, uh, somewhere close to 1. All right? Okay. Responses. All right. So this is expanding. Okay? It's a text where, it's a text when the model takes a very short input text, whether it's a set of instructions or a list of topics, and generate a longer text, such as email for customer service or image, uh, email email as an AI customer service assistant, okay, as an AI customer service assistant. So you generate emails based on that particular customer inquire or reply or any complaint. And uh, and then is this and or generate a message. Okay, so and even though that they are great use case such as brainstorming partner, that also have some problematic such as generating large spawn or such as generating spawn email. So use it responsible. And here I'm going to look at how can I generate a personalized email using some data, and the email is kind of self-proclaiming to be an AI bot. You are indicated based on this set of instructions, and also use one of the model inputs parameter called temperature, that it allows you to vary the degree of exploration and variety in the kind of the model's response. Okay, so in other words, is how creative is it is output, how creative it is response uh, using the temperature. So okay, let's jump in.
Expanding is the task of taking a shorter piece of text, such as a set of instructions or a list of topics, and having the large language model generate a longer piece of text, such as an email or an essay about some topic. There are some great uses of this, such as if you use a large language model as a brainstorming partner. But I just also want to acknowledge that there's some problematic use cases of this, such as if someone were to use it to generate a large amount of spam. So when you use these capabilities of
A large amount of spam. A large amount of spam.
large language model, please use it only in a responsible way and in a way that helps people.
In this video, we'll go through an example of how you can use a language model to generate a personalized email based on some information. The email is kind of self-proclaimed to be from an AI bot, which, as Andrew mentioned, is very important. We're also going to use another one of the model's input parameters called temperature, and this kind of allows you
Called
to vary
temperature,
the kind of
which is
degree
another
of
model input,
exploration and variety
another model
in the kind
input
of model's
parameter, the
responses.
temperature.
So let's get into it. So
Let's get into it. let's get into it. Let's get into it. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into it.
Before we get started, we're going to kind of do the usual setup. So set up the OpenAI Python package and then also define our helper function getCompletion. And now we're going to write a custom email response to a customer review. And so given a customer review and the sentiment, we're going to generate a custom response. Now we're going to use the language model to generate a custom email to a customer based on a customer review and the sentiment of the review.
So giving a set of instructions, okay, here you're going to generate is a customer email based on this text or based on the user review. So you're gonna generate a customer response where now you are assigning here a role, right? So you're a customer service AI assistant, and your task is to send an email reply. Your task is to send an email reply to a value customer. So given the customer email delimited by the triple quotes, generate a reply to thank the customer for their review. If the statement is positive or neutral, thanks exactly. And then you provide the set of instructions, set of conditions here. Okay, so first you indicated the role. Okay, especially if you're going to generate this particular use case. Okay, so you're a customer service AI assistant. So your task is to send an email reply to a value customer, and given the customer email delimit by triple quotes, generate a reply to thank the customer for their review. If the sentiment is positive or neutral, thanks them for the review. If the sentiment is negative, apologize and suggest that they can reach out to customer service. Okay? Make sure to use specific details from the review. Write in a concise and a professional tone. As we remember, for example, one of the prompt keyword or topics that we can use for one of the tasks that allows to perform using LLM, specifically the OpenAI LLM, such as transforming, where in there we can is translate to a different language, identify that language, as well as perform the task in parallel. Okay, formal or informal forms. So, for example, you can ask the model to generate is text in a formal way, or to transform one particular way of talk to, let's say, from your friends or your family, and make it more professional, especially if you want to address to a senior or in a professional manager. Okay, formal or informal, as well as the tonality. Okay, so writing can vary based on the intent audience. So whether it's a college or a professor or a family or someone that doesn't have a background on that topic, okay, let's say your younger brother. So ChatGPT helps you to establish a tone, and this is very important, especially because writing can vary based on the intent audience. Based on the intent audience, in the intent, based on the intended audience. Okay, so this writing, and this is also part of the copyright here. Here you can have is, for example, people from the copywriting most of the time, so they actually know that writing can vary based on the intent audience. Okay, so whether it's a college or a professor or your family or someone doesn't have a background on that topic that you're talking, so writing will, or the tonality of how do you write that, it will vary. Okay, okay, so this is the tone transformation, as well as format conversion. This is something that I'm very familiar with. For example, transform from a JSON to an HTML, or from a CSV to a JSON. CSV. This is a very widely and useful use case, right? Completely. And then we have a spell check and grammar check. Okay, so in other words, is to proofread your writing. Something that I as a phone for use a lot of, and something that I'm going to use especially if I walk through a non-native language. Yes. So yeah, this is transforming. Okay, just to remember some of the particular keyword prompt topics that you can use here, and in expanding like this, uh, we can provide a set of instructions to the model with a short, or this short text input, whether it's a set of instructions or a list of topics, and let the model generate a longer form of text, right? So here, based on a particular user review, you're instructing the model, hey, please assume that you are a customer AI, okay, and your task is to send an email reply to these, or to a valued customers. So given the customer email delimited by these delimiters, triple quotes in our case, and then generate a reply to thank the customer for the review if the sentiment is positive or neutral. Thanks to them for the review. So generate a reply to thank the customer for the review. Okay. So generate a reply to the customer for sending the review. If the sentiment of that review is positive or neutral, thanks to them if the review. Okay. So thanks them for the review. If the sentiment is negative, apologize and suggest that they can reach out to customer service, and make sure to use specific details from the review in writing a concise and professional tone. Here, that's why it's using the tonality that we saw from the transforming, tone transforming. Okay, so sign the email as an AI customer agent, and customer review with the review as well as the review sentiment. So because I don't want to pass the sentiment, I just want you to figuring out the customer. What is this? It's like I didn't load this. Okay, we run this. Checkpoint, that's right. What about now? Okay. Okay, give the model time to think. Okay. Dear value customer, thank you for taking the time. That's right. I didn't change the temperature here. Temperature is 0. Okay. So dear value customer, thanks for you to taking the time to leave a review for our 17P system. So it includes the detail about the customer review. We appreciate your feedback and are glad to hear that you were able to take advantage of our seasonal sale in November. We apologize for any confusion regarding the price in December. Our prices are subject to change based on various factors, including supply and demand. We understand your disappointment and would like to assure you that we always strive to offer competitive price to our customers. We appreciate your detailed feedback on the product itself, including your tips for making smoothies and your experience with the motor. We're sorry to hear that the motor began making a funny noise after a year and the warranty had already expired. If you experience any issue with our products in the future, please do not hesitate to reach out to the customer service. Thanks again for this. And there you got it. So this is because I removed that. Okay, now if I give the review sentiment, all right, again, give the model time to think. Okay. Thank you for taking the time to leave that review about our product. We're sorry to hear that you experienced an issue with the motor after a year of use. We apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused you. If you have a further concern or question, please do not hesitate that. But now this answer were more shorter for that. We're vastly more shorter.
So we've already extracted the sentiment using the kind of prompts that we saw in the inferring video. And then this is the customer review for a blender. And now we're going to customize the reply based on the sentiment. And so here the instruction is, you are a customer service AI assistant, a language model to generate text that you're going. And so here we have a response to the customer. It addresses details that the customer mentioned in their review. And kind of as we instructed, suggests that they reach out to customer service because this is just an AI customer service agent.
In this case, it doesn't generate that.
Next, we're going to use a parameter of the language model called temperature that will allow us to change the kind of variety of the model's responses.
So temperature is one of the model's input parameter that allow us to change the model's response.
So you can kind of think of change the kind of variety of the model's responses.
So change the kind of variety, model's response.
So you can kind of think of temperature as the degree of exploration or kind of randomness of the model. And so for this particular...
Okay. So you can think of this as kind of, you can think of this as You can think of this as kind of the kind of variety model response. You can think of this as kind of randomness. On the model's response.
Phrase, my favorite food is, the kind of most likely next word that the model predicts is pizza, and the kind of next to most likely it suggests are sushi and tacos. And so at a temperature of 0, the model will always choose the most likely next word, which in this case is pizza. And at a higher temperature, it will also choose one of the less likely words, and at an even higher temperature, it might even choose tacos, which only kind of has a 5% chance of being chosen. And you can imagine that kind of as the model continues this final response, so my favorite food is pizza, and it kind of continues to generate more words, this response will kind of diverge from the first response, which is my favorite food is tacos. And so as the kind of model continues, these two responses will become more and more different. In general, when building applications where you want a predictable response, I would recommend using temperature 0. Throughout all of these videos, we've been using temperature 0, and I think that if you're trying to build a system that is reliable and predictable, you should go with this. If you're trying to use the model in a more creative way where you might want a kind of wider variety of different outputs, you might want to use a higher temperature.
Exactly. For more reliable, yeah, for more reliable and predictable response, use temperature. Okay. For more reliable and predictable response, use temperature 0. For more creative,
predictable, you should go with this. If you're trying to use the model in a more creative way where you might want a kind of wider variety of different outputs.
For creator or a variety for different outputs, use temperature around 0.3 to 0.7, where 1 is maximum, where 1 is chaos, I will argue. Okay? Well, where 1 is brain stroke. No, but now let me ask the model about this. I'm going to use this is power here. I just want to use the power model here. Just want to use the power model here, such as, hey, translate the next sentence delimited by triple quotes. Okay, where you can see, hey, this is the text. Come on, man. like text. By default, it translates to. I didn't give you any answer. Okay, the temperature is wild. Okay, you're not predicting, or you're not giving me anything. It's like, okay, this is the text. Okay, where now this is the string for that. Okay, so translate the next sentence delimited by triple quotes. Jesus into friend into English. Okay, so here's where I pass this text. Okay, stroke. Really? Oh, interesting. You're having a stroke. Okay. Okay. So if for more creative, for more creative or a variety of for different outputs, so use temperature around 0.3 to 0.7 when one is having a stroke. When one is having a stroke. I'm just kidding. Is a lot of is having a stroke. I'm just kidding. It's just too random.
You might want to use a higher temperature.
Okay, like this. Mhm.
So now let's take this same prompt that we just used and let's try generating an email, but let's use a higher temperature. So in our get completion function that we've been using throughout the videos, we have kind of specified a model and then also a temperature, but we've kind of set them to default. So now let's try varying the temperature. So we use the prompt and then let's try temperature 0.7. And so with temperature 0, every time you execute the same prompt, you should expect the same completion, whereas with temperature 0.7, you'll get a different output every time. So here we have our email, and as you could see, it's different
Yeah,
to the
you
email that
will
we
get
kind of
a
received
different output every
previously.
time.
And let's just execute it again to show that we'll get a different email again.
Thank you. Thank for your review. We apologize for the experience you had with our pricing and the quality of the product. We understand your frustration with increasing price and the quality of the basis. We strive to provide our customer with the best possible product and service, and we're sorry that we fell short of our expectation. We would like to make it right for you. Please reach out to our customer service department. We will do our best to help resolve any issue. So if I ask the model again for a new response, thank for you taking the time to review our product. We're sorry to hear you disappointed with the pricing of the system and the decline in the blades base quality from previous edition. We apologize for any inconvenience that this may have caused you. We take all feedback seriously and would like to make things right for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out for that. But again, if you don't provide this, if you don't provide this, you are now letting the model to do a lot of the tasks, but you don't instruct that. You know, you don't instruct the model, so it's more. Uh, it's more like this. It's including supply and demand. But now, if you provide this parameter, the model now give more succinct answers, and we reduce the amount of hallucination that you have. which is one of the issue with this large language model. This is one of the issue with this large language model. Okay.
And here we have another different email. And so I recommend that you kind of play around with temperature yourself. Maybe you can pause the video now and try this prompt with a variety of different temperatures just to see how the outputs vary. So to summarize, at higher temperatures, the outputs from the model are kind of more random.
Yeah.
You can almost think of it as
Let's jump into the chatbot here. Chat workflow.
One of the exciting things about a large language model is you could use it to build a custom chatbot with only a modest amount of effort. ChatGPT, the web interface, is a way for you to have a conversational interface, a conversation via a large language model. But one of the cool things is you can also use a large language model to build your custom chatbot to maybe play the role of an AI customer service agent or an AI order taker for a restaurant. And in this video, you learn how to do that for yourself.
I'm going to describe the components of the OpenAI chat completions format in more detail, and then you're going to build a chatbot yourself. So let's get into it. So first, we'll set up the OpenAI Python package as usual.
Okay,
Completions format in more.
Okay.
Order taker for a restaurant. And in this video, you learn how to do that for yourself.
I'm going to describe the components of the OpenAI chat completions format in more detail, and then you're going to build a chatbot yourself. So let's get into it. So first, we'll set up the OpenAI Python package as usual. So chat models like ChatGPT are actually trained to take a series of messages as input and return a model-generated message as output. And so although the chat format is designed to make multi-turn conversations like this easy, we've kind of seen through the previous videos that it's also just as useful for single-turn tasks without any conversation. And so next, we're going to define two helper functions. So this is the one that we've been using throughout all the videos, and it's the getCompletion function. But if you kind of look at it, we give a prompt, but then inside the function, what we're actually doing is putting this prompt into what looks like some kind of user message. And this is because the ChatGPT model is a chat model, which means it's trained to take a series of messages as input and then return a model-generated message as output. So the user message is the input, and then the assistant message is the output. So in this video, we're going to actually use a different helper function. And instead of kind of putting a single prompt as input and getting a single completion, we're going to pass in a list of messages. And these messages can be kind of from a variety of different roles. So I'll describe those. So here's an example of a list of messages. And so the first message is a system message, which kind of gives an overall instruction. And then after this message, we have turns between the user and the assistant. And this will kind of continue to go on. And if you've ever used ChatGPT, the web interface, then your messages are the user messages, and then ChatGPT's messages are the assistant messages. So the system message helps to kind of set the behavior and persona of the assistant, and it acts as kind of a high-level instruction for the conversation. So you can kind of think of it as whispering in the assistant's ear and kind of guiding its responses without the user being aware of the system message. So as the user, if you've ever used ChatGPT, you probably don't know what's in ChatGPT's system message. The benefit of the system message is that it provides you, the developer, with a way to kind of frame the conversation without making the request itself part of the conversation. So you can kind of guide the assistant and kind of whisper in its ear and guide its responses without making the user aware. So now let's try to use these messages in a conversation. So we'll use our new helper function to get the completion from the messages. And we're also using a higher temperature. So the system message says, you are an assistant that speaks like Shakespeare. So this is us kind of describing to the assistant how it should behave. And then the first user message is, tell me a joke. The next is, why did the chicken cross the road? And then the final user message is, I don't know. So if we run this, the response is to get to the other side. Let's try again. To get to the other side, fair sir or madame, 'tis an olden classic that never fails.
Yeah, but here what happened is that you're passing the message and the temperature brings a response. So he just saying is, and by passing all of this list, okay, of message, where now you say, hey, the role is assistant. You're an assistant that speak like,
So
wait,
there's
what
our
is what the
Shakespeare's kind of describing to the assistant how it should behave.
exactly? So the assistant is how the assistant should behave. You're an assistant that speak.
So now let's try to use these messages in a conversation.
So you're an assistant that speak like Shakespeare. Okay, he set the behavior and how the assistant should respond. Role user content, tell me a joke, and role assistant content. Okay. Why did the chicken cross the road? User content, I don't know.
So we'll use our new helper function to get the completion from the messages. And we're also using a higher temperature. So the system message says, you are an assistant that speaks like Shakespeare. So this is us kind of describing to the assistant how it should behave. And then the first user message is, tell me a joke. The next is, why did the chicken cross the road? And then the final user message is, I don't know.
To get
So if we
conclusion
run
from
this,
meshing. To get to the
the
other
response
side.
is to get to the other side. Let's try again.
With a different temperature.
To get to the other side, fair sir or madame, 'tis an olden classic that never fails. So there's our Shakespearean response. And let's actually try one more thing, because I want to make it even clearer that this is the assistant message. So here, let's just go and print the entire message response. So just to make this even clearer, this
The role is
response
assistant.
is an assistant message. So the role is assistant, and then the content is the message itself. So that's what's happening in this helper function. We're just kind of passing out the content of the message. So now let's do another example. So here our messages are, the system message is, you're a friendly chatbot, and the first user message is, hi, my name is Isa. And we want to get the first user message. So let's execute this for the first assistant message. And so the first message is, hello Isa, it's nice to meet you. How can I assist you today? Now let's try another example. So here our messages are, system message, you're a friendly chatbot. And the first user message is, yes, can you remind me, what is my name? And let's get the response. And as you can see, the model doesn't actually know my name. So each conversation with a language model is a standalone interaction, which means that you must provide all relevant messages for the model to draw from in the current conversation. If you want the model to draw from or quote unquote remember earlier parts of a conversation, you must provide the earlier exchanges in the input to the model. And so we'll refer to this
You have to
as
provide the
context.
early stage of
So
the
let's try this.
model.
So now we've kind of given the context that the model needs, which is my name, in the previous messages, and we'll ask the same question. So we'll ask what my name is. And the model is able to respond because it has all of the context it needs in this kind of list of messages that we input to it. So now you're going to build your own chatbot. This chatbot is going to be called OrderBot, and we're going to automate the collection of user prompts and assistant responses in order to build this OrderBot. And it's going to take orders at a pizza restaurant. So first we're going to define this helper function. And what this is doing is it's going to kind of collect our user messages so we can avoid typing them in by hand in the way that we did above. And this is going to kind of collect prompts from a user interface that we'll build below, and then append it to a list called context. And then it will call the model with that context every time. And the model response is then also added to the context. So the kind of model message is added to the context, the user message is added to the context, so on. So it just kind of grows longer and longer. This way the model has the information it needs to determine what to do next. And so now we'll set up and run this kind of UI to display the OrderBot. And so here's the context, and it contains the system message that contains the menu. And note that every time we call the language model, we're going to use the same context, and the context is building up over time. And then let's execute this. Okay, I'm going to say, hi, I would like to order a pizza. And the assistant says,
we get text input. Okay.
great, what pizza would you like to order? We have pepperoni, cheese, and eggplant pizza. How much are they?
How much are they?
Great, okay, we have the prices. I think I'm feeling a medium eggplant pizza.
Eating eggplant.
So as you can imagine, we could continue this conversation. And let's kind of look at what we put in the system message. So you are OrderBot, an automated service to collect orders for a pizza restaurant. You first greet the customer, then collect the order, and then ask if it's a pickup or delivery. You wait to collect the entire order, then summarize it and check for a final.
You wait to collect the entire order, then summarize it as a final, and check for final
if the customer
time.
wants to add anything else. If it's a delivery, you can ask for an address. Finally, you collect the payment. Make sure to clarify all options, extras, and sizes to uniquely identify the item from the menu. You respond in a short, very conversational, friendly style. The menu includes, and then here we have the menu.
The menu.
So let's go back to our conversation, and let's see if the assistant has been following the instructions. Okay, great. The assistant asks if we want any toppings, which we kind of specified in the system message.
This is the toppings here.
So I think we want no extra toppings. Sure thing. Is there anything else we'd like to order? Let's get some water. Actually, fries. Small or large. And this is great because we kind of asked the assistant in the system message to kind of clarify extras and sides. So.
Yeah, you indicated the model.
And so you get the idea, and please feel free to play with this yourself. You can pause the video and just go ahead and run this in your own notebook on the left. And so now we can ask the model to create a JSON summary that we could send to the order
JSON summary of the
conversation.
entire order. That's right.
So
Context copy. Context copy. This is for the context copy. Helper function or data that you are using. Any place. Message context.copy. Wait, where the heck is the context? Context.append. Oh, okay.
we're now appending another system message, which is an instruction. And we're saying, create a JSON summary of the previous food order, itemize the price for each item. The fields should be 1 pizza, include side, 2 list of toppings, 3 list of drinks, and 4 list of sides, and finally the total price. And you could also use a user message here. This does not have to be a system message. So let's execute this. And notice in this case, we're using a lower temperature because for these kinds of tasks, we want the output to
Yeah,
be
you
fairly
want to
predictable.
you want for this kind of file, you want a fairly predictable output. Type eggplant, medium, price topping, no topping, drinks, no drinks, size.
For a conversational agent, you might want to use a higher temperature. However, in this case, I would maybe use a lower temperature as well because for a customer assistant chatbot, you might want the output to be a bit more predictable as well. And so here we have the summary of our order. And so we could submit this to the order system if we wanted to. So there we have it. You've built your very own order chatbot. Feel free to kind of customize it yourself and play around with the system message to change the behavior of the chatbot and kind of get it to act as different personas with different knowledge.
Okay, and the next lesson is the conclusion.
Congratulations on making it to the end of this short course. In summary, in this short course, you've learned about 2 key principles for prompting. Write clear and specific instructions, and when it's appropriate,
And give the
more
model time to think.
You also learn
as well
about
as several
iterative
tactics,
prompt
the
development and
iterative
how having
prompt
a
development.
process to get to the prompt that's right for your application is key. And we went through a few capabilities of large language models that are useful
The
for
capabilities to
specifically
summarize.
summarizing, inferring, transforming, and expanding. And you also saw how to build a custom chatbot. That was a lot that you learned in just one short course, and I hope you enjoyed going through these materials.
We hope you'll come up with some ideas for applications that you can build yourself now. And please go try this out and let us know what you come up with. No application is too small. It's fine to start with something that's kind of a very small project with maybe a little bit of utility, or maybe it's not even useful at all. It's just something fun.
Yeah, and I find playing with these models actually really fun. So go play with it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good weekend activity. Speaking from experience. And just please use the learnings from your first project to build a better second project, and maybe even a better third project, so on. That's kind of how I have kind of grown over time using these models myself as well. Or if you have an idea for a bigger project already, just go for it. And as a reminder, these kind of large language models are a very powerful technology, so it kind of goes without saying that we ask you to use them responsibly, and please only build things that will have a positive impact.
Yeah, fully agree. I think in this age, people that build AI systems can have a huge impact on others. So it's more important than ever that all of us only use these tools responsibly. And I think building large language model-based applications is just a very exciting and growing field right now. And now that you've finished this course, I think you now have a wealth of knowledge that'll let you build things that few people today know how to. So I hope you also help us to spread the word and encourage others to take this course too. In closing, I hope you had fun doing this course, and I want to thank you for finishing this course, and both Isa and I look forward to hearing about the amazing things that you build.
Okay. So that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye-bye.